Hey, and welcome to the highlights of episode number 77 with Miss Jaiya. Some of my favorite parts of this episode were when she talks us through the 5 different erotic blueprints and how understanding these will radically deepen your love, relationships, and sexual experience. I also love how she shares so openly and honestly about the current experiment that she is doing with her partner. But there is so much more juiciness, wisdom, insights, and inspiration that you get in the full episode. So, to listen to the full episode and to get all the info in the show notes, head to melissaambrosini.com/77 right now. Welcome, Jaiya. I am so excited to have you on the show. So I would love to hear about your story and how you got to doing the work that you're doing now.
I'd say it started when I was very, very young. Somehow I saw Dr. Ruth. I don't know, like it was something in me was just driven for this. There were 2 things I wanted to be when I grew up: Dr. Ruth and an opera singer or like musical theater performer or some kind of actress, dancer, singer, something or another. So ever since I was young, this was a passion of mine. And I have been on this mission and this calling. And it's like some kids, it's like, I'm good at drums, so I'm going to become a drummer. Or some people are great at accounting and that's what they're gifted at. I think I came into this world erotically gifted. And I've spent most of my life cultivating that and living that and on a mission because it's more than just something that I do. It truly is a calling. And so I had this always desire, this curiosity, this desire to teach, to share, to talk about. And throughout life, there'd be these inciting events of shame. One was I was in the bushes with a boy across the street. And, of course, I was doing some doctory thing of show me your stuff and I'll show you mine. Kind of, you show me yours, I'll show you mine in the bushes. And I wasn't supposed to be across the street. And my grandmother caught me across the street and called me over. And I thought I was in trouble because I was across the street. So I went and hid under the bed. And she called me out. I came out finally. She's like, "What were you doing?" And I told her what I was doing. And her words to me was, "You're bad. You're such a bad girl." And that languaging is so shaming because then I take on like, oh my gosh, I enjoyed this. I liked this. This was so much fun. I must be a horrible, bad person because this adult figure that I love so much is telling me I'm bad. And then I got hit.
So why do you think there is so much taboo and shame around sex and sexuality and our bodies? Like, where did it first come from?
I think it comes from a fear of the power. I think it comes from a fear of when we are truly sexually free, we're free. And there has been a fear of the power of the feminine. So if I speak to just people in female bodies or who identify as female, that there is a fear of that power. How many times have we been persecuted for speaking out, for our sexuality, for our witchy wonderfulness? And that piece of just there's some kind of fear of this unknown or the power and the bigness of our sexuality and what it means and all the meaning we place on it. And there's so many things that can back up the shame. So our parents weren't educated about sex, and I'll argue about education. So let me back up just a little bit. I want to ask everybody a question. What was your sex education growing up?
I didn't have one.
So this is the answer I get. I didn't have one, right? Like I didn't get a sex education, but I want you to really think about it. You did get a sex education. What were the messages your parents were giving you? What were the messages your grandparents? What were the messages the culture was giving you? What was the message from religion? What was the message? And it's not that anything here is like, I don't want to make anything bad and wrong. I just know what's okay and what's not okay. And to me, shame in any area is not okay. And what shame says is that we are bad, as opposed to maybe that behavior wasn't the best choice.
And I guess your work, the erotic blueprint, is kind of the same, where we all love to give and receive pleasure in different ways. Is that correct?
I work with many, many clients around challenges like I don't get aroused. I can't get an erection. I don't feel desire for my partner. We're in a sexless relationship. Things like this that I would see over and over again, health challenges around sex. But the biggest one was always a disconnect between what really turns me on and who I'm supposed to be, like who the culture says I'm a man and therefore I'm turned on by this, or I'm a woman and therefore this means X, and being caught in very limited definitions and stereotypes. And so working with so many people, and I work somatically, which means I'm body based. I'm paying attention to what's happening in the body. I started to notice patterns and I started to call it wiring, like how people were erotically wired, which later evolved into erotic blueprints. And each blueprint has a positive, like what they're turned on by and their superpowers. And each blueprint has a shadow side, like what is their block. Emily Nagoski in her book, Come As You Are, talks about the brakes and the accelerators. So the positive is like the accelerator, the thing that puts the gas in your erotic life and gets you moving forward. And then the brakes are the shadow pieces, the things that are meant to be healed in our eroticism. So then I was like, these are kind of like languages. It's like speaking languages. Like people talk about sexual compatibility. I don't think that it's, oh, I'm incompatible with you. I think that that's a mythology. I think actually it's that we just speak different languages, just like the love languages. And if we can learn how to speak the other person's language, it's so beautiful. So we don't say to somebody who speaks Spanish and we speak English, like, I'm sorry, I can't be in love with you because you speak Spanish. We say, hold on, let me learn Spanish. Or they say, hold on, let me learn English so that we can speak the same language. And I think of it the same way. So if you have a partner or if you're single, doesn't matter. This is really about learning how to honor yourself and who you are and how you're turned on. You're not broken. You're absolutely normal. And that's a message I want everybody to get because so many people think they're broken in their eroticism. And it really is as simple as learning how to speak someone else's language. You just have to be willing. I get so many letters, like you said, and I had like a deep breath came in my body and really receive people in tears saying, oh my gosh, I now understand what's happening in my relationship. Or, oh my goodness, I now have compassion for my partner. Oh, I'm not broken. I'm just wired this way, or I'm not weird. And so it really just helps us give a language and an understanding. It helps us give a language to talk about sex. Sex is so difficult for so many people to talk about. And one of my missions is that we create a conscious conversation about sexuality so that we can up-level the whole consciousness around sexuality, because there's so much dark, icky gunk around it. But if we can talk about it and we have a language to talk about who we are erotically, and it just becomes an easy conversation, just like what kind of clothes you like to wear or what kind of tea you like to drink, that we can just up-level because we are having these conversations and that we can honor one another. And that's what's really important. So let's dive into the 5 types. The first one is energetic. Energetic is someone who is turned on by space, anticipation, tease, and yearning. So energetics love to feel the longing and the yearning in sexuality and relationship and the anticipation of what's about to happen. Their superpowers on the positive side are that they're so sensitive that they could orgasm without anybody even touching them. So like energetic orgasms, soulgasms, like gasms on a whole other realm are possible for the energetic. And then on the shadow side is the hypersensitivity can be detrimental in that there's so much sensitivity that you become so hypervigilant that you overwhelm and short circuit. So how this shows up in the male body people may be that you premature ejaculate as pleasure gets super high, or you feel your partner's pleasure getting so high, your body goes into overwhelm and you instantly have an ejaculation or climax. It can also happen in the female body. I can have an orgasm in 60 seconds. Less than that. Sometimes it's just like something touches me the right way and boom, my body orgasms and I get oversensitive because it's a way that my body deals with the overwhelm of information and the overwhelm of pleasure. So the next one is sensual. And the sensual is turned on by all of their senses being ignited. So this is, and notice just even in my voice, like I'm slowing down. It's kind of like delicious syrup. And the smells of something, the taste of something, the environment being a certain way, body to body contact. It's the smells, the taste, the sights. It's all of those senses being richly ignited. So as sensual and their superpowers brings beauty to the sexual experience, brings relaxation, brings depth of comfort, brings full body experience. And so sensual on their shadow side is being very caught in their head. So once they're in their body, it's glorious, it's rapturous. But once they're caught up in their head, and maybe you all relate to this, you're in the, like somebody's going down on you or something like that. And all of a sudden you're like, oh gosh, is it okay down there? When did I shave last? Does everything smell okay? They've been down there for a long time. Wonder if their neck's okay. Or then you start thinking about the bills or the laundry, and you're down a rabbit hole instead of like enjoying what's happening between your legs. Now you're off somewhere else thinking, and you're stuck up in your head, and it's hard for you to get in your body. So I know a lot of people really relate to that shadow piece of the sensual. So the next one is the sexual. And the sexual is my primary. So I think I'm like 40% sexual, somewhere in there. When I'm in a relationship, when I'm first meeting somebody, I'm a little bit more energetic than I am sexual. But once I get in a relationship, I am very, very sexual. So sexuals are turned on by nudity, penetration, getting to the climax, reaching that end goal. We have sex to relax. Whereas a sensual will relax first before they can get into a sexual experience. They want to create that relaxation and luxury before they go into sex. Whereas a sexual is just like, all right, come on. Like, let's go. And then they feel better after they've gotten to that climax or that end goal. Everything feels right in the world when a sexual is having sex. And sex for them means intercourse, penetration, climax. Somebody is getting to that end goal, usually both people, and then they're very, very happy. So shadow is that they do have a limited definition of sex. But I'd say in their positive, they're fun. There's a simplicity to the sexual blueprint. I mean, for me, it's just like, all right, I need penetration. I have my orgasm. I'm happy. I'm good. We don't need any frills. The next one is kinky. This is the most misunderstood blueprint. I'll say that just to define the blueprint for people, because you may think of kink and may start going to all kinds of different ideas and projections about what that means. Kink means anything that's taboo for you. So it's playing in the realm of the naughty. It's playing in the realm of the taboo. Kinky is kind of like an energetic, can have orgasms without being touched. They can go into something called subspace, which is like an altered state of consciousness. They have an endless variety of creativity in their eroticism. I often say I will be learning about kink for the rest of my life and never have really scratched the surface of everything that there is to learn within that blueprint. On the shadow side, it's shame. Sexuals can experience shame too, especially if you're a female-bodied sexual, because that's not okay in our culture. And we have a lot of slut shaming. But the biggest area of shame that shows up really is in the kinky, judging yourself as weird, judging yourself as wrong, thinking there's something must be wrong with you because you like these taboo desires. And the truth is that all the research shows that people who are kinky actually have better mental health than the rest of us. So for those of you who are hearing this and you're kinky, you have something to celebrate. Yay, you are mentally healthy.
I love it. And we've got the final one, which is the shapeshifter.
Yes. Shapeshifter is someone they can speak every language. There's someone, if we had the language in the energetic that is this beautiful Chinese with this calligraphy, and we had in the sensual French, and with sexual, it's American English, and then we get to like some ancient Persian language with the kinky. When we get to shapeshifter, it's someone who is fluent in all languages. They're the most erotically intelligent of all of the blueprints. And yet they often will describe themselves as very complex, wanting too much, desiring too much, needing too much. They've been told they're too much. So if you have been told in the past from a lover that you are too much, either that partner was sexual and didn't understand any of the other blueprints, or you are a shapeshifter. And it's not that you're too much. It's just that you have an epic sexuality. You can speak all these languages, and you can shapeshift to be an ultimate lover to anybody because you can speak everything. On the shadow side of this is because you're shapeshifting, you're oftentimes starving. So you shapeshift to be what someone else wants you to be. You may shapeshift to be sensual, and therefore you're always being sensual, but then you're starving and you're kinky and you're sexual and you're energetic and your shapeshifterness. Or you feel like you're too much, so you shut down who you really are, and you aren't freely being like out there and big and bold and true to who you are. I see this a lot with my shapeshifter clients that I'm working with, where there's just fear of, if I let myself out of the box, then what? Then I'm a hedonist, then I'm a slut, then I'm too much. And I just really want to encourage any of you who really relate to the shapeshifter, you're not too much. You're just intelligent. You're erotically intelligent. You're erotically gifted, and you're a gift to the world and the freedom of your expression because you give permission to everybody else to really play full out and be who they really are.
I'd love to hear now, what do you attribute your success to?
I think it all comes back to a mission. I believe there's something greater than me behind all of this. It's not me. I'm just a messenger. I mean, there's a part of what I contribute, but really it's about I have so much passion for a mission. I won't give up. I've been at this for 2 decades and I just refuse to give up no matter what has happened in my life, no matter what hardships, no matter the persecution I've experienced, the challenges, the struggles, I am not a business person. And most people would say, oh my God, Jaiya, you're such a business person. But I've had to learn to be a business person so that I could get the mission out. And if I didn't have the mission, I would never have learned, because boy, do I want to know how to do accounting spreadsheets every week? No. Do I want to learn how to do like legal documents and contracts? No. I'm going to talk about sex, fun stuff that we're doing. And my partner and I do these crazy experiments. So that's bringing me, it's interesting. It's hard, but it's bringing me joy at the same time. And it ties into having my own back. I think that I'm a person who's very willing to take risks, and risks actually bring me joy because on the other end, there's so much growth. And I am addicted to growth. It's one of my highest values is I need to be growing. I need to be looking at places where I'm unconscious so that I can get more conscious. And my partner and I just decided to do this really intense experience. And it kind of stemmed around, I felt like he didn't have my back in certain places. And what we decided to do was unravel. We've been together for 10 years. We have an 8-year-old son. We've lived together during this time. We just decided that we were going to let go of everything that we know, meaning we're going to let go of our relationship. We're going to let go of living together. We're going to let go of sleeping in the same room together. We're going to let go of our business. He and I also work together in our business. We're going to let go of all of it. Any agreements that we have, spoken or unspoken, getting conscious to the agreements that we have, and do a grand experiment of every 2 weeks, we recreate agreements. What's the agreement this week? We took sex off the table, which is huge for a sexual. Oh my God, I thought I was going to die the first 2 weeks. But it's been almost 2 months now. And we're creating an epic relationship because we noticed all the patterns. We're breaking all the patterns. We're breaking all the enmeshment. We're breaking anything that was there. And we're completely reinventing our relationship. One of our core brand values and lifestyle values is pleasure first. So we do everything. Our business meetings start with pleasure first. Our day starts with pleasure first. Conversations start with pleasure first. It's become a lifestyle. So all of our core brand values, we really work on them being a lifestyle.